Let's lead off tonight listening to a little video explaining some things. We're going to watch a lot of video tonight, talk about a lot of things, answer a lot of questions. If we have time, we'll go to the live chat and see what your opinions are, but let's check this out.
Mpox, formerly known as monkeypox, is a zoonotic disease discovered way back in 1958 in laboratory-reared monkeys. Now, in the early 1970s, the first cases in the world were reported among people who had contact with wild animals. The contagious virus can be transmitted from person to person through bodily fluid contact and, in some cases, sexual. Emily Chibet reports. Experts
Tried to mute it just in time. Sorry, YouTube algorithm.
Are alarmed by the sudden spread of the virus.
The high incidence of Mpox in the DR Congo and the number of cross-border cases is becoming a concern in Africa.
Viruses or pathogens that cause.
According to scientists, Mpox had not been a disease of concern in the past. This was attributed to the minimal level of spread from people to people, but it is becoming more transmissible. Dr. Samuel Hamadi, a virologist at the Kenya Medical Research Institute, says there is a likelihood that the virus is mutating.
The mortality from Mpox is around 3%. And one of the questions that scientists are asking themselves is why is the virus all of a sudden becoming easily transmissible? And we are thinking that the virus is mutating, and we have evidence to show that. So because of the...
All right, here's my question, and we're going to get back into that video tonight, but I want to lead with this question. Are you not the least bit curious how a disease, a virus, that up until just a couple of years ago, maybe even not even 2 years ago, probably about a year ago, was commonly known as monkeypox? It has always been monkeypox. It's been known and has been diagnosed in people since the 1950s, that at least that we know of. And it is a very strange disease. It is not like what we just came through. It is a totally different type. And we're going to break it down the best we can without getting kicked off of here tonight. We're going to try to tell you the truth about what this is. And isn't it strange? Do you not find it curious that this doctor, this was actually 1 day ago when this was on the news in Africa, that this doctor said, we don't know why, but it's suddenly mutated, and as the transmission ability of it has escalated, and we don't know why. And you know, come on, let's all put our tinfoil hats on. Not in my regular studio, so I don't have my tinfoil hat. I'm just going to pretend this is it. It's on. By the way, I think it's always on now, and I think most of you wear yours all the time. It's just a lot of times you only are the only ones that know that you're wearing it because it's in your mind. All right, so because you're awake. So the question is tonight, and we want to talk about Disease X tonight, and many of you will remember the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab predicting, as well as the World Health Organization predicting, running tabletop exercises, telling us there is a disease coming. There is the next pandemic is what they called it. Now, for so long, there's all kinds of words here that I need to not say to mess up what we're trying to do to get in front of as many people as we can to help people understand this tonight. Oh, and by the way, if you hadn't hit that like button right now, what are you waiting on? You know what you do. You know the drill. Come on. If the big picture is something you always watch, you know you come straight in, you log in, you hit the like button, then you're done, and then you watch the show, get in the live chat if you want to. You don't have to. But you know, if you love the big picture, that's what you do. You come straight in. You make sure that YouTube has not unsubscribed you, because that's happening to a lot of you. You hit the like button and you move on. So go ahead and do that. But they did the tabletop exercises, and they talked about this thing called Disease X. Now, Disease X, they ran the scenarios and how it would affect and how it would spread globally around the world. And we have been talking about Disease X for a while. Now, here's what most people has believed that Disease X would be. It is that thing that you hear chirping outside in the mornings on a beautiful day, and you see it flying across your sky, and it lays eggs and all that. You know that little thing that does this, and then you put flu with it, and then that's what most people thought it was going to be. And it may still be that, because that is growing quickly. But all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the return of monkeypox. Now, understand that you cannot call it monkeypox anymore. It is now called Mpox. And I really can't even go down the road of why it's not called monkeypox anymore, because it has undertones in it that people have accused it of being a certain type of slanderous word. People have used it as a slanderous word, supposedly. So they had to drop the monkey and calling it Mpox instead of monkeypox. All right, so we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about what is monkeypox, how does it spread, is it dangerous, is it lethal, how contagious is it, and should you be concerned about it wherever you're watching this around the world. But let's dip back into this video from a local news there in the continent of Africa. And I believe this might be from the Congo, which is where this is mainly spreading. So let's go back in and listen to on the ground where this supposedly originated and where it is going from now.
The mutations of the virus, it means that it is probably changing the way it is being transmitted, and therefore it is our responsibility as scientists to be able to find out how is the virus changing and what can we do to be able to control it.
The zoonotic disease that originated from wild animals and is endemic in West African countries causes lesions across the whole body. Scientists say two main strains of the virus.
Now, if you can understand that, it is a skin disease that gets into the bloodstream as well, but it has lesions and large pimples, much like a very serious case of measles, very serious case of chicken pox or something like that. I even read that it is similar. It is in the chicken pox umbrella, under the chicken pox umbrella type of disease, in the sense that most people that contract Mpox probably will never get it again. So it's in that same genre. So let's watch a little bit more of this, and then I've got some really, really important commentary.
Viruses are known currently. Clade 1 that originated from the Congo Basin and is more dangerous than Clade 2, mainly found in West Africa. The milder one caused the global outbreak in 2022 that affected Europe, Australia, the US, and many other countries.
There have been cases where it has been reported that it's spread through sexual intercourse. It is by touch, like if you greet somebody, you can actually get Mpox. If you share clothing with somebody who's infected with the virus, you probably will get infected. So as a country, one of the measures that we can put in place is to ensure that we have what we refer to as general hygiene. If you go to a place, you wash your hands. We avoid crowding in places. We also avoid...
Did you notice the words there? Wash your hands. Avoid crowded places. My mind is going back to something. I'm thinking about something. It was global. We were told to wash our hands, which we should have been doing all anyway. And then we were told to watch gathering in large crowds. Sounds very, very familiar. So let's ask the question, what is monkeypox and how can it be prevented? Mpox, as I've already said, previously called monkeypox. Mpox is a rare disease caused by the Mpox virus. This virus usually affects rodents, such as rats or mice, or non-human primates, such as monkeys. But it can occur in people. Mpox usually occurs in Central and West Africa. Cases outside of Africa are often due to international travel, imported animals, or close contact with an animal or person with Mpox. Starting in 2022, Mpox cases were reported in countries that don't often have Mpox, such as the United States. The CDC continues to monitor cases that have been reported throughout the world, including Europe and the United States. What are the symptoms of Mpox, previously called monkeypox, and what does Mpox look like? Mpox symptoms may start 3 to 17 days after you've been exposed. The time between you're exposed and when you have symptoms is called the incubation period. Mpox symptoms can last 2 to 4 weeks and may include fever, skin rash, swollen lymph nodes, headache, muscle aches and backaches, chills, tiredness. About 1 to 4 days after you begin having a fever, skin rashes will begin to start. The Mpox rash often first appears on the face, hands, and feet, and then spreads to other parts of the body. But in cases linked to the outbreak that started in 22, the rash often started in the ding-a-ding-ding-ding, lower parts that your God gave you at birth, mouth or throat. The Mpox rash goes through many stages. Flat spots turn into blisters, then blisters fill with pus. Are you not enjoying this Thursday night broadcast? Scab over and fall off over a period of 2 to 4 weeks. You can spread Mpox while you have symptoms. So from when your symptoms start until your rash and scabs heal. Okay. How does it spread? Okay, this is important, and we're going to watch a video that's going to help us a little bit more on this. The virus spreads from person to person through direct contact with rashes, scabs, or body fluids with a person with Mpox. Extended close contact more than 4 hours with respiratory droplets from an infected person. This includes intimate contact. By the way, this is code word for if you're going to be around somebody for a while, you need to wear something over your nose and mouth. Does that also sound familiar? An infected pregnant person can spread the Mpox virus to the fetus, or the baby, I like to call it. Mpox spreads from animal to a person through animal bites or scratches, wild game that is cooked for food, products such as skins and furs made of infected animals, direct contact with body fluids and rashes. And why am I all of a sudden itching? Does that ever happen to you when you're talking about something and all of a sudden you start itching? All right, stay with me because we're gonna get into a video that's going to. We got several videos that are going to really show us a little bit more. So let's just real quick, rapid fire. This is from the Mayo Clinic. Take these steps to prevent infection of the Mpox virus. Avoid close contact with people who have a rash. It looks like Mpox. Avoid handling clothes, sheets, blankets, and other materials that have been contacted with infected animal or person. Isolate people who have Mpox from healthy people. Wash your hands with soap and water. Avoid animals that contain the virus. Now, what are the treatments? The treatments are, let's see, there's a few antiviral drugs and so forth, but you basically got to let it run its course, and there is a couple of antibiotic things that are out there. So I want you to just not fear, don't get scared, but also be aware that I think we've learned the world we live in, right? Have we not learned how the world operates? Are you aware of the calendar? Are you aware of what the date is at the time of this recording? Right now, at the time of this recording, it's mid-August. Well, guess what? We are just, what is that? August, September, October, November. We're less than 3 months away from our presidential election. There are more, listen to me, there are more presidents and prime ministers being elected in 2024 in known human history. Did you know that globally? Globally, there are more leaders and heads of state, presidents and prime ministers being elected in 2024 than any other year in known civilization. That's pretty wild, y'all. So there's a big shift of power going on. Some of these are going to shift in the right direction. Some of these are going to shift in the direction of control and things that we know are evil. We've lived through that. So what does the World Health Organization say about all this? Well, it's very interesting. This is from Axios. I believe this came out, only 6 hours ago at the time of this recording. This is how quickly, this is why I chose to do this show tonight, because it is on everybody's mind. The World Health Organization has declared a global health emergency as a deadly new strain. Notice the wording, as a deadly new strain of Mpox is spreading throughout parts of Africa. The big picture. Hey, I like those words, Axios. Send me a royalty check. Just kidding. This is the second time in just over 2 years that the WHO has declared Mpox, previously known as monkeypox, to be a global emergency. Now, this came out today. Sweden's public health agency announced Thursday that it had confirmed the first known case of the Mpox strain outside of Africa. The patient has received treatment in Stockholm after contracting the virus in a part of Africa where the new strain is currently circulating, the agency noted. And by the way, this is not a racial statement. This is just a statement of fact. This is a migrant that came from Africa to Sweden and brought the disease with them. Now, let's go on a flashback. The WHO issued its first declaration over Mpox in July 22 after the disease has spread to 70 countries. Did you know that? 2 years ago, it had spread to 70 countries. Between 22 and 23, the outbreak caused more than 99,000 cases and more than 200 deaths globally. 200 deaths is horrible. That's 200 people that lost their lives. But in the grand scheme of almost 8 billion people, you understand that this is not a very deadly disease, at least at this time. It revoked emergency status in May of 23 following a steep decline in cases. What makes this Mpox strain different? This is very key. This is according to the CDC and the World Health Organization. These two main strains of Mpox, Clade 1 and Clade 2. Remember those names. You're going to start hearing them in the news. Clade 1 and Clade 2, if I'm saying it correctly. And I know there's a possibility that it could be Claude. But more than likely, especially down here in Alabama, we say Clade. So the Clade 2 strain is endemic to West Africa. And Clade 2 are usually less severe, and 99.9% of people who contracted survive. Now, here's the key. The new strain, Clade 1, is endemic to Central Africa and has proven more virulent and deadly than Clade 2 strain. Some previous outbreaks have killed up to 10% of those infected. Now, here's the term you're going to hear the rest of this program in some of the videos that we're going to watch. Some of you have heard this term before. Some of you have never heard this term before. Mpox is a zoonotic disease. A zoonotic disease. And it means exactly what you would probably think it means. It means that it can spread from people to animals. But guess what? I love the wording here, that it can spread from people to animals. But the truth is, it originated by spreading from animals to people. Okay? Both strains spread and you can understand what I'm meaning here by what we've already talked about tonight, by intimate contact, that it can be spread. And then you really your mind starts going down the road here of really what is the origin of this disease. And if you go back, and I don't know how much this is going to get me caught here in the world out there that likes to filter words and censor words, but if you go back to the 80s, the deadly disease that took the lives of just so many people globally, the virus that HIV, the virus that causes AIDS, and you remember all that came with that and how that was spread and the panic that came with it. Well, I've got to be careful here. But many of you have forgotten that many people have traced it back to patient 1, and patient 1, patient alpha, whatever you want to call it, that supposedly was the person that brought that to America, had intimate touch with a monkey. So there's something going on here. And when you realize that the symptoms maybe not as nowhere near as deadly as that what we just spoke of, the origins seem to be the same. Okay? This is not speaking of the people. I'm speaking of the animals. I'm speaking of people with contact with animals. And it only takes one to contract something. It's just like if you get bit by an animal and you get infected by something, and that animal and that disease can be spread from person to person. Well, the reason you can spread it to another person is because you've been bit by and had contact with that animal. Well, this is a zoonotic disease. This is a disease, and I don't even know if this show is going to make it tonight. Do you understand? I'm not trying to say anything. other than what they're saying. These are secular sites. It can be spread from people to animals, and also it can be spread from animals to people. Both strains spread via close contact with an infected person or animal or contact with contaminated materials. Both strains have similar symptoms, including the flu-like symptoms. Now, I want to read this. This is Axios. Axios is a very secular, left-leaning news organization. The previous outbreak that happened in 2022 of Mpox, primarily, and by the way, YouTube, all these others are listening to me, I'm reading Axios. So all I'm doing is reading what they say. The previous outbreaks of Mpox primarily impacted men who have with men and their partners. So we know that the original outbreak of Mpox, formerly known as monkeypox, has a similar transmission origin of another very well-known virus that swept the world and created panic around the world. In fact, if you'll remember back then, you'll remember that this particular virus that I'm speaking of in the 80s, in the early 90s, was the first ever virus that had its own civil rights. I don't know how many of you are old enough to remember this, but it's mind-boggling to think about it. But if you had this virus, your doctor was not permitted to test for it. And if they determined through testing that you were positive, they did not have the right to share that information with any other doctor. Now, they can share heart disease, they could share kidney disease, they could share cancer, they could share Alzheimer's, but they were forbidden by law to share a positive test result of that virus. And I think we all know why. It was the beginning of a movement of making it very difficult to say anything, not negative, not hate speech, not hate-filled. That's not what any of this is, but anything that would go in that direction of what I just read. And without reading it again, if you're only listening to it, then you can't see it. I'm just going to put it on the screen. I'm going to let you read the part that says zoom in while I'm saying this. This world is dealing with, dare I say, the repercussions of out of the Creator's idea and out of the Creator's intention and law of how intimacy is supposed to be. Did you read between the lines what I just said? In fact, the book of Romans tells us that in the last days, that's what we will see. It says that we will worship the creation more than the Creator. And then it goes on to say, and here's another thing that will happen, men with men, women with women, leaving their natural habitations, burned with lust, go on and on and on. I know this ain't Bible study, but y'all do know I'm a preacher, right? So, y'all still with me? You ain't checked out yet, have you? I'm just trying to prepare you for what's coming. Because when you get through with this program, whether you're watching it live or on the replay, I just simply want you to get your phone out, and whether it's an Android or Apple or whatever it is, you've probably got a voice search on it, and just simply ask, how many days left until November 5th? How many days left until the election of your country? Wherever you're watching this, just you'll be alarmed, and you'll know it, but it will really hit you that people like me and voices like this show, many of you follow other shows. I realize you don't just watch the big picture. We have been saying over and over again, when we got to the summer, when we got to the fall, something was going to come on the global scene, not just wars, but something that would cause chaos as we got closer to November. And here we are. Not only do we have one, we have two. We have the tweet, 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 tweet flu. And then we have the version of chickenpox. Okay? So the Mpox and the things flying in the air flu coming at the same time. And the CDC is warning us that either one of them could be the famous Disease X. Do you remember Disease X? Disease X was the tabletop exercise that was done by the World Health Organization and the World Economic Forum in partnership with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and other major clinics to run scenarios. They even went so far, I can't show it because every time I show, and you can't find it either. If you can find it, I think you probably find it on the green label Humble. Humble, go over there to Humble, and it's got a green logo. Go, you know what I'm talking about. Go over there and search it. You can probably find it. But it's a tabletop exercise of this Disease X, and this Disease X is they even have a news anchor talking about all the numbers of the people who've lost their lives and the chaos that's around the world. They went ahead and made a little movie out of it, brought in people to pretend to be ambassadors of nations. That's what we're dealing with. Let's get a little more information here. This is from a TV station in France. It's called Africa's Top Health Body Sounds Alarm over Mpox Outbreak.
Infectious pus-filled lesions are due to the Mpox virus. And according to
just fair warning, as you can see on the screen, some of the scenes are a little difficult to see, but you need to see this is what Mpox looks like.
Africa's top public health body, the speed at which a new, more transmissible strain is spreading is causing grave concerns, causing it to trigger its first ever public health emergency of continental security.
This is not just an African issue. Mpox is a global threat, and it is in this moment of vulnerability that we must find our greatest strength and demonstrate that we are all learning from the COVID lesson and we are playing solidarity.
Formerly known as...
Did you hear that? We have all learned and are learning from the C-19 episode on how to handle this.
Monkeypox, Mpox is transmitted through close contact, causing rashes, bodily lesions and flu-like symptoms. It was first detected in humans in the Democratic Republic of the Congo in 1970s, but the latest outbreak has spread to neighboring countries, including Burundi, Uganda, Kenya and Rwanda. In 2022, a milder strain of Mpox spread to over 100 countries, causing the World Health Organization to set off its highest alert. But according to experts, the current situation is more severe.
In fact, if you look at the period, the most recent period, the number of cases in Africa is more than triple what it was when the peak was declared in 2022.
According to the latest CDC data from earlier this month, there had been over 38,000 cases of Mpox and over 1,400 deaths in Africa since January 2022. The WHO's emergency committee will now decide whether to trigger its most serious alarm, a public health emergency of international concern.
Well, alrighty. Of national concern, the ultimate alert. So we see now what Mpox is. It's in the chickenpox world, but it's much more serious. It is primarily spread through intimate contact or through something that has touched a body that is already infected. Could even be clothing. And you saw in the picture there was not only adults, there was also children, because they were, for whatever, how they came in contact with them. But it's close contact. They're also now saying, and it's amazing to me that none of the videos that I've watched has mentioned this, but the CDC in prevention has just went ahead and put it out there and said, if you feel like you're going to be in prolonged close proximity of someone that you suspect has contracted Mpox, make sure that you social distance and make sure that you wear a face covering. Very, very interesting. Let us continue listening to how the world is ramping this up. All of these that I'm showing you are all videos that can be found on YouTube, and they've all come online, and they're within the last week. Let's watch another one. This is from Sky News, probably the most famous world news there is, besides BBC.
The rapid spread of a lethal version of Mpox in Africa and now to Europe is causing increasing alarm. The World Health Organization has declared it a public health emergency of international concern, calling for urgent action to bring it under control. Mpox, previously known as monkeypox, causes fever, rash and lesions, severe headaches and fatigue. Some people have difficulty breathing or swallowing, and there is a risk of life-threatening sepsis or blood poisoning. So far this year, there have been more than 17,500 cases in at least 13 African countries. That's up from 15,000 for the whole of 2023. But it's a situation in the Democratic Republic of Congo that triggered the WHO's warning. There have been more than 15,000 cases this year and more than 500 deaths. Just over 2/3 of the cases in the DRC are children under 15.
Now, I'm going to leave that up there, and I want you to remember, there again, you can say what you want to say, and some of you are going to say, here he goes again, fear-mongering. Well, some of this information, if I would not have told you tonight, you wouldn't even know. So you can call it fear-mongering all you want to, or you can understand that on the big picture. I'm always backwards. When we're on the big picture, we're here to make sure your eyes are opening to the big picture. Do you remember how the last thing that we just went through 4 years ago, that spread globally? How did they play on our emotions? How did they cause people who would never dream of giving up their freedoms the way they gave their freedoms up? Anybody in the live chat? Anybody in the live chat want to tell me, look at the screen, come on, it's easy to remember, right? Although the group, the age group that they used to scare us because they're the most important to us, was the least likely to have any long-term and fatal effects from what just went around the world 4 years ago. Here we are again. They are leading with 2/3 of the cases in the Congo that is spreading around the world is children.
Mortality rate is almost 9% in babies under the age of 1 and approximately 4% in older children. The outbreak in the...
Now you see the fatality rate there. But what they're not telling you is it's not just like they didn't tell you then. I'm not saying that many of these are not directly tied to the virus, but many of these have other situations happening in their life before they ever contracted it that contributed to that number as well. But you remember, people would have a car wreck, and guess what got put on their death certificate? That they died of, right? So we're seeing a setup here.
DRC is being driven by a new version of the virus.
In 2022, we saw Mpox in the UK, and that occurred largely as a result of sexual transmission and also direct contact transmission. And there were more than 3,000 cases in the UK in 2022. This clade 1 virus, though, is more concerning because it has been expanding very rapidly. It appears to be more transmissible, and it's associated with a higher mortality rate.
There is a vaccine against Mpox, but it's not clear how effective it would be to the new variant, and only 200,000 doses are available. The African Centers for Disease Control says 10 million are needed. By declaring a public health...
Let us look at the screen again. So the CDC, on this slide, top right-hand corner, you probably can't read it on your screen, but it says source Africa CDC. That there are known to have 200,000 doses of this particular jab. But there needs to be 10 million. Now that is just in Africa. When you start really going down this path here and studying what people are saying, they're already talking about needing billions of doses. Billions. It's like they moved on from the little fly pretty tweeting things flu straight to this. Why? Why? Could it be that something else is going on here, or could it be that this is going to be a double whammy? Is this why? And we're going to get to it in just a second. Don't leave yet, because I'm going to show you what the World Economic Forum predicted would happen. And here's the reality. I'm also going to show you how the World Health Organization tried to seize upon this to take what little bit of freedoms you have left. Let's finish this, and then I've got some more commentary.
Emergency of international concern, the WHO hopes to accelerate access to testing, vaccines and drugs. Without rapid action, it fears the virus could go global.
All right. I hope you heard that at the end, that we need to pursue rapid deployment of new vaccines. How much of this is sounding familiar to you? How much? How much is this sounding? Remember, we got to have it now. We don't have time to test. We have time to test. This is new strain, new strain, new strain. So now this is a short little video here that's very, very interesting. In fact, this video itself, I'm going to show you, can already know what's coming to me. You see the little dreaded blue box? The little dreaded blue box, that's the fact check box there. And that's the wah-wah box. So I'm sure the wah-wah box, blue box is already beneath us. That's okay. We welcome the blue box. We embrace the blue box. Bring me the blue box. I'm not scared.
The next pandemic could be 20 times deadlier than coronavirus.
This is Disease X. This is part of the roundtable discussion that I was talking about when they came out with Disease X.
The new pandemic, dubbed Disease X by the World Health Organization (WHO), might already be on its way and could take 50 million lives. Scientists have identified 25 virus families containing thousands of individual viruses. But still, there are millions of other viruses yet to be discovered. So what is Disease X? According to WHO, Disease X could be caused by a pathogen X. It can be a virus, a bacterium, or a fungus with a high infectious and fatality rate and without any known treatments. WHO also believes that it could be related to a zoonotic disease that jumps to humans and further mutates severely.
What? Did you hear this? This was put out 10 months ago. This video was made 10 months ago, but the words came several years ago, and they say that Disease X could be, what did I call it, zoonotic? Did I say that right? I can't remember even what I called it. Was it zoonotic? Yeah. So, let's back it up and listen.
To a zoonotic disease.
Zoonotic, listen.
WHO also believes that it could be related to a zoonotic disease that jumps to humans and further mutates severely. More and more pandemics are a result of increased connectivity through globalization and congested cities, the increasing rate of deforestation, modern agriculture methods, and the destruction of wetlands further prompt the pathogens to jump from one species to the next. Disease X is a placeholder name that was adopted by the World Health Organization in February 2018. Since then, we have already seen a global pandemic. Researchers are already working on finding a potential vaccine as a precaution. Kate Bingham, managing partner at SV Health Investors, added that another mass vaccination drive and contaminants could very well be waiting in the near future. She also said that Disease X could be as infectious as measles with a fatality rate of 67%. She believes that it could already be replicating somewhere in the world.
Did you see that? It says with wah-wah, the former wah-wah, the vast majority of people infected with the virus managed to recover. Imagine Disease X is as infectious as measles with the fatality rate of Ebola, which is 67%. Somewhere in the world, it's replicating sooner or later.
She believes that it could already be replicating somewhere in the world. The expert concluded that a One Health approach, which aims at bridging institutional gaps and emphasizing mitigation strategies for emerging pathogens, should be developed to prevent a global catastrophe.
Are you following the breadcrumbs? Are you following the trail? Do you see where we are going? Do you see where we're going? If you cannot see where we're going, and you can't see what the ultimate goal is, well, then let's just listen to Tedros, our old buddy Tedros. You know Tedros, the leader of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros. Now, we've covered extensively that twice they tried to pass the Global Pandemic Treaty. Remember that. If you don't know what that is, go search it. We got previous shows about it. But in essence, in a nutshell, it was a document that the World Health Organization had drafted, and all the world's governments had to sign off on it. And most all of them did, including America, including most all European countries. But guess who some of the countries were that pushed back, caused it not to unanimously pass? It was a few countries in Africa and a couple other countries around the world. So they had to put it off. They're going to try again. But it would have given global powers to the World Health Organization to override constitutional rights in your country, specifically in my country. I'm thinking about it. Freedom of speech. It could overtake your ability to protest peacefully, your ability to have free speech, your ability to gather, and gave the World Health Organization authority to deem who is rich and who is poor, who has too many supplies and who does not have enough supplies, and to go into the countries that had too many supplies, according to them, and literally take, without their permission, their supplies, take them to other countries that needed it. That's what the World Health Organization Pandemic Treaty was going to do. And this is when he was pushing to get this passed. This was back in January, when he was very, very confident that this was going to pass. It's amazing to me that it did not pass, but listen to him.
2024 will be a defining year for global health and for our WHO. It's a year of opportunity. This year, you have the opportunity to shape the world's global health strategy for the next 4 years. This year, you have the opportunity to shape the future of health emergencies through the pandemic.
Isn't it interesting that he says you have the opportunity to shape the world's health decisions for the next 4 years? And this is 2024. Well, guess what's happening in America? The potential of having someone who they don't like, that they absolutely loathe, and who someone's just tried to kill, could possibly be the president for the next 4 years. So we need to hurry up. This is January. We need to hurry up and get this authority so that we will have overriding authority for the next 4 years. Are you following the trail?
Pandemic agreement and the amendments to the IHR. And this year, you have the opportunity to shape the future of this organization through the investment round. And I urge you to seize these opportunities because they do not come very often. We're all here because we want to make a difference, because we believe in the mission and vision of this organization. This year is our opportunity to make that difference and to make the world a healthier, safer, fairer place, especially more peaceful place.
A fairer place. Healthier and fairer place. Sounds like DEI to me. Sounds like equity, not equality. Do you understand there's a difference between equality and equity? Equity is everybody gets the same no matter what they contribute. Period. Okay. So the last but certainly not least thing I want to show you is this. They are rapidly developing the Mpox. Mpox maker ready to produce 10 million doses. This came out today from Barron's magazine, barrons.com, dated August 15th, today. Danish drug maker Bavarian, let's zoom it in a little bit more so my eyes can work. Bavarian Nordic said Thursday it was ready to produce up to 10 million doses of its WAWA targeting Mpox by 2025 after the World Health Organization declared a surge in the virus in Africa in global public health emergency. Alarmed by a rise in cases in the Democratic Republic of Congo and the spread of Mpox to nearby countries, WHO experts said Wednesday that the situation continues as a public health emergency of international concern. We have additional manufacturing capabilities of 2 million doses for 24 and a total of 10 million doses by 25. This is just one company. The Danish laboratory says it has some 500,000 doses in stock. Here's what I want to ask you a question. Do you remember when the WAWA was made available in America and around the world? Do you remember once it got instituted and it was considered to be mandated? Do you remember how much it cost? Do you remember? Nothing. Okay? In the first stages. They started sending them the testing, the doses. Certain people got it for free. Insurance companies covered it 100%. But guess what? They were not free. The drug manufacturers, global drug manufacturers, made in the trillions, ultimately. Because they're not in the business of curing people. They're in the business of treating people. Am I right? Prove me wrong. Where's the lie? Where's the exaggeration in what I just said? The medical world is not in the business of curing you. Because when they cure you, come on, let's use our brain. You don't come back again and pay them again for another shot, for another pill, for another visit, for another x-ray, for another IV, for another hospital stay. When you're cured, you get to live your life and you don't have to pay them money anymore. Well, when things are free, how many knows nothing is free? There's no such thing as a free lunch. There's no such thing as a free WAWA. Okay? Nothing is free. You still paid for it. And if you don't pay taxes, you didn't pay for it. But most people that pay taxes, like myself and like people that are watching this, and they pay taxes most of their life, their tax dollars paid for it. So when you're talking about a company that flippantly says, we're going to make 10 million doses. Well, can I ask you a question? Has anybody bought those doses yet? No. What would make a company go ahead and project, hey, we'll have 10 million doses ready for next year? Is it smart business to say we are ready to produce 10 million doses, only one company, by next year, if they had not been given a word by someone in power and someone in authority that they'll get their money because they're going to make sure that they're used? Come on, y'all. Use your brain. Use your brain. This is the world we live in right now. They believe that they can manipulate every aspect of your life, control you, and they are being successful on a great level. I want you to look at what just happened in our elections here. It's only been a month since one of the candidates almost lost his life on live television. Nobody even talks about it anymore. And it's only been a few weeks since the current president, who just 9 days prior to resigning, via a typed out photo of a typed out piece of paper, non-White House letterhead, on a tweet. It's only been a few weeks since then that just stepped away and still president. And then all of a sudden a candidate who won nothing is now the candidate who has not answered a single question. And all of a sudden now, according to the polls, is now winning. course, I don't believe the polls, but we're being told and we're being programmed just like that in less than a month. It's flipped. Well, there's no questions. There's no, say they're going to be a debate. Who knows? But what happens if they agree to one debate, they get down to the one debate, and it's ready to go? And we're 1 month out from the election when the debate's supposed to happen, I think, or something like that. The vice presidential, one debate. All of a sudden, the CDC steps forward and says, this has escalated. We cannot allow this to happen. You can still vote, but you need to stay home and vote because this thing has escalated. What is going to happen? What is going to happen to this nation? What is going to happen to this world? Can I tell you, it's a different environment now than it was 4 years ago. Now, there'll be millions that will line up like sheep and do whatever they're told to do. But I believe on both sides of the political aisle, Republicans, Democrats, liberals, conservatives, Christians, atheists, Muslims, Buddhists, people of all walks of faith and all walks of life across the board, many of them have been pushed too far. And they're going to say, not this time, buddy. Not this time. Not going to fall for your lies. Not going to fall for your manipulation. Not this time. So what happens when those people step up and say that? I don't know. I'm just asking questions. Not calling for anything, not prophesying anything. I'm just using my brain. Y'all, things are about to get crazy. Do you know when the Lord told me to start a channel and call it The Big Picture? This is what he said to me. And I don't care if you believe the Lord can speak to people or not. I don't care. I just know that I felt the Holy Spirit speaking this to me. You do you, I'll do me. He said the world needs to know that there's more going on in the unseen realm that we can't see than we could ever see and discover in the known realm. That means scientifically, mathematically, by studying, by discovering things. We can only go so far of understanding what this world is really all about. There is an unseen realm that plays the long game. There is a very real enemy that plays the long game. And the Bible talks about a final generation that will see things like no other generation has ever seen. And I believe with all my heart that that is us. And if that is us, if this is us, if we are that final generation that will see things that no one has ever seen and deal with things that no one has ever dealt with, then how about this? God trusted us to be in this moment. He trusted you. Isn't it time for you to wake up? Isn't it time for you to stand up? Isn't it time for your family to see strength in you and not fear? That's what my mission is. Not to scare you, but to wake you up to the real world that's going on. I'll be right back.
Would you like to help us build the Big Picture family? We're on a mission to wake up the world to what is really going on. All you have to do is go to our website at LarryRagland.com and make a one-time gift, or you can become a monthly partner. Any amount is a blessing and an encouragement to us. While you're there, make sure you get a copy of our book, I See Greatness in You. Browse our merchandise store, connect with us on our social media links, and join our mailing list. We appreciate it. And remember, we ain't woke, but we are certainly awake.
Come on now, we are wide awake, y'all. Our eyes are awake. The question is Mpox disease X? My answer is it's highly likely that at the very least it is a part of something that is going to be more than one. And I believe they're getting ready to unleash it. I hope that I'm wrong. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the follow button, share this broadcast with somebody that might be interested in this. And don't forget to go down in the description, click that Telegram channel and join our Telegram. I'll be live or something live or recorded in Telegram later tonight. And I'll be sharing some things about Mpox that I cannot say here So if you want to hear that, there's only one place that you can hear what I'm going to talk about tonight, and that's the Telegram channel. So click the link down below, subscribe to our Telegram channel. I'll see you there later tonight. God bless you. We ain't woke, but we are certainly awake. Thank you for joining us on the Kingdom Intelligence Report. Bye, y'all.